This is a completely custom Victorinox Swiss Army knife that I made with a completely unique tool set and custom micarta scales. Now, before I get to the video on how I made this, which is coming, hit subscribe if you're interested, I need to do the video on how I made this. This is my Victorinox reassembly jig, which I made just last night. I recorded all of the steps in the process. I'm going to show that to you momentarily. You can see that it is pretty simple. It's just got holes drilled for that match the hole patterns on Victorinox knives. On the right here is the 58 millimeter hole pattern. In the middle is the 91 millimeter hole pattern, and then I've got room here if I want to do another hole pattern as well. And the brass pins simply slot into those holes and hold your scales in place, and then hold each subsequent layer in place. And we've got a nice steel surface here for you to peen the rivets over against. So if you want to see the video on how I made this, you want to see all the steps on how I made this, stick around and we're going to show those off right about now. So to start, I'm going to take this plate of steel. This one's 1/4 inch by 4 inches and it's a foot long, I think. So it's just a nice hefty piece of steel. This will be a good base. And then I've got some maple just because it's hardwood. Wasn't too expensive. I spent about 20 bucks total on these pieces, but you could probably get away with much cheaper materials if you can take the time to find them. So the plan is to run the maple along this top edge so that I have the jig up top and then a nice working surface on the bottom that I can clamp down if I need to the edge of a table. And you'll see that's the 91 millimeter and there's the 58 millimeter. Should have room for one more if I decide to add one. And all I would need to do is just drill the holes. But I'll probably just run these centered on the maple, mark the holes, drill them out, and that should get me where I need to go. And we'll check back in a moment. So I cut the piece of maple down to size just to match that. It doesn't have to be perfect. And then I went ahead and laid out my holes. So what it'll be, like I showed before, is the 58 millimeter over here and the 91 in the middle, and this will be positioned at the top of the metal plate. One thing I did with the 91 millimeter is you see there's 4 holes in the middle. I did one layout and then flipped it over and matched the 2 end holes and did 2 more middle holes. So there will be a total of 6 holes. The reason for that is like you just saw, I could be assembling from either side of the 91 millimeter, and that'll make that possible without having to leave out pins in the middle. With the 58, of course, that's not necessary because it's a symmetrical design. So I went over to the drill press. I grabbed my nearest size fractional bit. I did do a test cut before, and there's a scrap piece of 1.5 millimeter brass rod. So that fits in. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to pin the liner in place. I'm going to use that as a drill guide for the next couple of holes as I go. I'm going to keep adding scraps of rod to hold it in place, and we'll go from there. So that worked out quite well. You can slip that extra scrap. I just have scraps lying around because this is where I chop these. Now I'm going to do a test to fit the drill bit, or a test fit to see which drill bit to use for the 2.5 millimeter holes and then all of the 2.2 millimeter holes. We'll see which one fits them best on a piece of scrap and then go ahead and drill those holes in the same way. Without a metric drill bit set, I did have to improvise a little bit. I drilled the 2.2 millimeter holes out were fine, but the 2.5 millimeter holes on either end, I had to drill them out smaller because the next size up was too sloppy. And then I ended up pounding in some of the pin to get it in place, but it's a little too snug. So it's not an easy slip fit. It's a little too snug. So I'll come back. Those holes are they are square into the wood, so it is where I want them and everything. So I'm just going to come back with a 2.5 millimeter bit when I get one and just plunge it into those spots. Should be pretty easy. But otherwise, everything turned out okay. I'm going to clean off these marks here, and then I'm going to start looking at how to attach the maple to the steel plate. Once I did the pilot hole down into the maple, so I knew where the holes would line up, I went ahead and enlarged the holes and countersunk them, counterbored them for just some regular flathead wood screws. And those will go in there, and this will all get screwed together, and we'll be good to go. And just like that, we have got our jig for reassembling Swiss Army knives. I hope it will serve us well. We're going to jump over to the warehouse now and test it out, reassembling our custom 58mm multi-tool. You may not believe it, but everything actually worked out. This is our first fully customized not multi-tool, but our first fully customized Swiss Army knife that we've reassembled. And everything actually went relatively well for a first time. We've got some custom scales here, just a totally custom tool set. Did it with the jig. It worked perfectly well. You can see that the brass pins we use are easily removable. And I was really pleased with that. So I hope you guys enjoyed. We'll continue to kind of show off this jig in future videos, so subscribe if you're interested in seeing what we're able to do with it. We also do some custom multi-tool videos and all sorts of other content. I hope if you're trying to do something similar, this gives you a little inspiration, a little bit of ideas of how you can execute it. And I guess that's it. Thanks for watching.